As we come to our last psalm this evening, we're reminded that singing psalms in one's own language was often a risky and dangerous form of worship. The French Huguenots descended from the French Reformation in the early 1500s. By 1562, the Reformed churches of France had grown to over 10% of the population in that Catholic nation. Yet in March of 1562, a massacre of Huguenots worshiping in the village of Vassy set off a series of wars that would last over 30 years. The most famous of these persecutions was the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre on August 24th, 1572, killing almost 100,000 Huguenots. During this time, the French Huguenots began to sing psalms as part of their corporate worship. They also sang the Psalter texts as they marched in cities to publicly show their faith, or defended in battle, or as they were executed by Catholics having been accused of heresy. King Francois I banned the singing of psalms, yet the Huguenots continued to meet in secret and sing. The son of Francois, Henri II, carried out even stiffer opposition and filled the prisons with Huguenots. Many were killed by burning at the stake. Their defiance of the state and church's doctrine continued right up until the moment of their death. As in adamant resistance, they would sing passages from the Psalms as they were burned by the fires. The earliest historical reference to the French Psalter being sung can be associated with the execution of Jean Leclerc in 1524. This Protestant pastor from the commune of Meaux in Paris started to sing various verses from Psalm 115 as he walked to the stake where he was to be burned. Jean Leclerc, his brother Pierre, and William Farel came under the influence of Luther's teachings as they began to circulate in France. And in the commune of Meaux, Leclerc began to publicly contest the veneration of Mary and the saints. Others began in Meaux to write and speak about the relationship between faith and works and what this meant. And Parisian students and others were drawn to the Reformation teachings in the churches of Meaux. These began to be called Lutherans, not because they were followers of Luther, but anyone suspected of heresy was called a Lutheran. For a time, under royal protection, these Reformation teachings were allowed to be discussed and preached in Meaux. However, in 1524, Lutheran teachings were condemned at the university, which placed the school at Meaux under the suspicion and opened the way for violence. Jean Leclerc, who was the older brother, was first punished by Parliament for placing a poster on the cathedral door denouncing the worship of idols. Soon after that, he was arrested for destroying statues in the city of Metz. He was taken, he was tried, his hand was cut off, he was tortured, and he was burned at the stake. As he walked to the stake, he sang words and verses from Psalm 115. Not to us be glory given. It was the perfect response to the state and to the church, which thought that authority and power rested in them. And in response, he said, no, here's what God's word said. His brother, Pierre, and William Farel started one of the first Calvin-influenced churches in France. They were also imprisoned later. On a Sunday morning with 60 people gathered, there was a raid. Everyone was arrested and tried by Parliament. Many of them were executed. They did let the women go free. As they took Pierre and William to the stake to be burned, they cut out their tongues so they would not sing psalms. So when we look at these psalms, the meanings of singing these has a deep, deep history. It's more than just a relic of antiquity. It's more than just a historical practice. This is how believers sustained and faced terrible persecution, death, torture. God's word brought them comfort and brought them hope and brought them assuredness.